is notice to appear before an immigration judge who entered illegally and were released pending immigration court. Yeah. Now, what's crazy about the immigration court is that it works as a function. It works alongside the federal the federal agencies. So it's not like a separate. Anyway, let's get back to reality, of course. MAGA mom detained by ICE. Her husband says he'll still support Trump. That is insane. Okay.
Federal agents. She and her family, all supporters of President Trump. See the MAGA hats. President Fox 11's Matthew Seedorf live for us in Diamond Bar. And Matthew, those Trump flags staying up tonight.
Yeah, those flags staying up. This family still supports Donald Trump despite their mom being detained. The final moments home for an Iranian woman detained by immigration agents.
Okay, it's getting increasingly more difficult to feel bad for some supporters, okay? Like, it's getting increasingly harder to, like, every day I'm like, no, we must oppose this unconditionally. We must be loud in our opposition to this, okay? But when I see stuff like this, it becomes so hard.
Thank you.
A mother Monday going inside to say bye to her 4 kids.
She came and kissed the kids and that was it. That's the last time I saw her.
A proud President Trump supporting family in Diamond Bar.
The election time was here. I had a full 3-4 flags out.
Even while their mom faces immigration questions. Has your opinion changed on this?
That's a good question. Somewhat it has. Just because I'm going through it. I was very selfish before.
But I'm still selfish now? Dude, what? Dude, what the? He's Persian. Last thing he needs to be accused to be working with the Shah? What? Bro, that is crazy. That is crazy. Brother, what the is he saying?
See right now is, okay, there's a reason for it.
Arthur Sahakian's wife, Arpaneh, was born in Iran and moved to the United States when she was 3 as a refugee.
She cashed a check, I believe it was less than $200, and this is all where it started.
Then, about 15 years ago, her green card was revoked over a conviction related to theft.
It's all misdemeanor stuff.
Arthur says they've been going through the legal process, regaining citizenship with check-ins every 6 months or so.
She just went in April, and they said, okay, you're fine, you know, have a good day. We'll see you back in September or October.
Then last week, the United States bombed 3 nuclear sites in Iran, increasing tensions and concerns of Iranian sleeper cells retaliating in the U.S.
Bro, there has never been a moment where a guy got every single one of his wishes, and it's like a real monkey's paw situation. You're like a pro-Shah Iranian guy living in California. You finally get your reactionary right-wing Shah-style, Reza Pahlavi-style president back. You're super stoked. Then on top of that, he f***s Iran, okay? And you're extra stoked. You're just throwing ropes at this point. You're like, oh my God, every single thing. I am Persian and everything I wanted, President Trump is giving me. And then boom. In the aftermath of that, Trump is like, yo, pack up these Iranians because they're all sleeper cells. Holy shit. Holy shit.
I'm very for of them seeing the Iranian nationals because of the sleeper cells. I understand that.
Federal sources tell Fox News that more than 130 Iranian nationals were detained in the U.S. this last week.
I think it will resolve a lot of issues because we will know exactly who's in here for what reasons. Even though I miss her dearly, but I think we could do a better job of you catch someone, you see there. And
dog, your children are crying because mommy's in the slammer. Are you serious? That's your wife, dog. Dude, this is next level. You can't even do a fell for it again for this guy. He's still falling for it. He's still in the process of free fall. That's crazy, man. This is, I mean, is this even, I think we've moved beyond onion bits at this point, okay? Because even the onion's like, no, that's a bridge too far. I feel like that's too much. You know what I mean? Like this is unimaginable levels of cult-like thinking. I love my President Trump. If he arrested me, there's a good reason for it. I'm a real piece of shit. I'm a criminal. I'm glad I'm glad that he's arresting me and taking my criminal ass off the streets. That's it. He said, Mr. Trump, President, take my wife, please. My wife is yours. You are the legend.
National and do a background real quick and see if they have ties.
He already said, oh, Mr. President, thank you for my country where my family members live still. That was awesome. And now, thank you, Mr. President, for taking my wife away because you suspect her of being an Iranian sleeper cell agent, potentially.
To the community and ties with families over here and let them go.
What do you think's going to happen?
Oh, I'm on the list to be going to a different facility.
Arpanay speaking with us on the phone, uncertain about her future. Any regrets with your vote?
None. Still supporting him.
While her family continues showing support for President Trump, hoping their mom comes home soon.
Trump is not trying to do anything bad. We understand what he's doing, and he wants the best for the country.
So right now, it's unclear if and when that mom could return home. Reporting live tonight, Matthew Seedorf, Fox 11 News.
So the argument for getting rid of her would be what? That she's not in the country legally and she committed a crime?
Exactly. Basically, it sounds like she lost her green card about 15 years ago and since then has been fighting to get it back. So right now, she does not have that green card and is considered to be in the country illegally.
Yeah, interesting. This whole thing is a reminder that everybody has a different story and there's so many layers to it. And if you just talk in political slogans, it's not enough. You really have to listen to each and every person's story and try to make up individual decisions almost. All right, Matthew Seedorf, thank you for your reporting on this.
Financially as well as emotionally.
Trump voter and business owner whose workers were detained by ICE speaks out. Dude, what a crazy world we live in, man. I don't know what to say about that, dude. I don't know what to say about that. That's like, that really f***ed me up. I'm not gonna lie. That was, wow. He's like, I still love my president. He's doing the right thing. He's getting these illegals out of here, including my wife, is wild. He's like, not my wife. That's just a mistake. I'm sure that'll be fixed soon. It's like, I mean, that level of dick riding should be illegal, dude. Wow. He said he didn't regret his vote, dude. He said he didn't regret his vote, dude. The admin literally Iran and then decided that the mother of his children is a hostile entity, a sleeper cell, and packed her up. Friends, I know we always say in the words of Michael Jamal Brooks, be kind to individuals, be ruthless to systems, but like, as this one chatter also pointed out, it's like, it's getting increasingly more difficult to be kind to individuals, okay? If you're that kind of individual, I can't, like it's so hard for me not to just make fun of you. That's crazy, Like, I know the process of deportation is a uniquely cruel endeavor, but like, you and your Trump-supporting wife are currently experiencing this, like, horrifying endeavor, and you're just sitting there being like, I don't regret it. It's fine. What are we doing? What are we doing? How am I supposed to feel bad about a guy who doesn't personally feel bad about what took place? That person needs to feel bad from a societal perspective. If you're okay with shit like that, what are we but livestock? I mean, he's livestock. Like, he's not doing the one thing that human beings are supposed to do, conservative, Democrat alike. When it comes knocking down their door, the idea is, oh, the leopards are eating my face. How could this have happened? You're not supposed to go, I hope it's yummy for the leopards while your face is being eaten. That's not, there is no subreddit for that yet. What the, like, it is a thing that animals have is self-preservation, okay? This is getting to a degree where you're doing like, blood sacrifice rituals for your cult. And if you have that level of loyalty to a person who likes you over deliberately, okay, in broad daylight, and you still defend it while you're in the process of getting over, at that point, there is no saving that person. You know what I mean? There's no amount of cruelty that person can experience that will shake him away from his position. At least, like, there are Trump supporters who are like, I didn't think my undocumented relatives were going to get apprehended. And they very quickly realized, like, okay, we were duped. This sucks. I'm going out in the streets and I'm going to protest. Great, fine. It sucks that this happened to you. It sucks that it happened to your immediate family members. I'm right there by your side. But when it was like, oh, my family members got deported, but I hated them. Honestly, they were criminals, actually. That's good. Hopefully they arrest me too next. What am I supposed to do? I can't help you if you can't help yourself. This is like a person on Medicaid whose Medicaid just got removed, okay? And they're running around being like, well, at least billionaires who are the most productive members of society are getting a tax break. That's fine. You know, I'm sure things will be better. It's like, okay, good luck. Good luck then. You're in a cult. You're a psycho. This is beyond beyond absurd. It's not normal. Every night I go to sleep and I think to myself, I hope the Walton family is getting a higher return on their initial investment. That's annoying. Anyway, here's the other side of it, which is a very common story. Trump voter and business owner whose workers were detained by ICE speaks out.
Financially as well as emotionally, it takes a toll. You know, you get to know these guys. You become their friends. Just not an employer, but a friend. And you see what happens to their family. It's quite a shock. They did everything right. And they all had their work permits. They all, a couple and few of them have driver's licenses. They worked with me on the Navy base, which had to go through intense security, and they found out all about their past. And
no, this is good for you guys to hear, because a lot of people don't understand. Like, there are a fuck ton of migrant workers, okay? There are migrant workers in this country that have the proper authorization, that have gone through rigorous background checks. Their immigration status is in limbo, like the lady that we just saw. For something so marginal, so inconsequential, she cashed a $200 fake check, okay? And then had her green card taken away in the process. That's a cruel-ass system, man. That is a ruthless and cruel-ass system. And it's the lack of care that we have as a society for some of these most marginalized people, some of the most vulnerable people that are simply just making ends meet. You know, they're here, they're working, they are going to ICE facilities with regular frequency to check in routinely. They have their court dates, they have their paperwork. They're trying to put pennies together so that they can get a lawyer to help them out throughout this process. And they're making pennies on the dollar on top of this. And then they're being called criminals and getting deported, ripped away from their families, ripped away from their neighborhoods, ripped away from their lives that they've developed here, that they've built here. Like dudes who have been working here in this country for multiple decades. You know what I mean? White people don't give a shit. You're talking to a wall. I don't think that's true. I think that there are plenty of white people who do give a shit. But there are certain kinds of white people that don't, the racist kind. And Trump, and that number is much smaller than you think. That's my point. I mean, here's a white person who does give a shit now, because this is the leopards ate my face moment for him.
You become connected with them and more than just a boss employee.
You voted for Donald Trump?
Yes, I did.
If you had a chance to sit across the president like you do now with me, what would you say to him?
Well, you know, the buck stops there, right? I did not understand his wishes to go after people who are legally here and trying to do right by them and their families. What's up? And I didn't understand that that's what he was trying to do. From what I understood, from what he has said, and from what ICE officials have said, that is not at all what they're doing. And then all the representatives of them are stating the same thing. That's not what we're doing. We're going after the criminals. Well, what happened here?
Yeah, I mean, look, at a certain point, you also have to realize, like, when there is not a single... This guy's not watching my broadcast, man, you know? He's not a HasanAbi head. You all feel the way that you do when you're like, these guys are so dumb. But you have to remember, like, think about your parents. Some of your parents probably also have the same exact mentality, okay? And part of the reason why they have that same exact mentality is because they're watching Fox, or even when they're watching MSNBC or CNN, up until Trump became president and started doing these deportations, there was very little coverage on how violent this shit was going to look like. And that's the reason why I place a lot of this blame on the Democratic Party as well, because they did not say a single damn thing. They did not counter message against this. They counter messaged. Not only did they not counter message against this, they messaged for this. They messaged in the direction. Maybe not to the same severity, maybe not to the same level of ruthless cruelty, but they certainly wanted a militarized border. They wanted to fundraise for a piece of legislation that was going to do Trump's 2020 border policies. They did this on the campaign trail. They said, build the wall. They kept propping up. Nice to meet you, man. They kept propping up Biden's like deportations as a benefit, not talking about how devastating this shit actually was. The employer said they had their work permits. These are people here on an NTA before an IJ who entered illegally and were released pending immigration court. Yeah. On an NTA before an IJ, like immigration judge, you're saying, right? Like they got the proper authorization. There are a lot of people like this. There are a lot of people exactly like this. There are millions of people like this who come into the country, who come into the country illegally. Yeah, notice to appear. NTA is notice to appear before an immigration judge who entered illegally and were released pending immigration court. Yeah. Now, what's crazy about the immigration court is that it works as a function. It works alongside the federal the federal agencies. So it's not like a separate entity. So when there's a woke president, they can be a little less restrictive. And then when there's a president like Donald Trump, he can use the immigration courts system as a mechanism to literally steal people, to kidnap people. That's why you see so many of those like gruesome images of people that are just like going to their regular court date. Okay, they're getting their notice to appear. They're appearing in court in front of an immigration judge thinking like, oh, I'm just going to get an extension, right? I'm going to get an extension. I'm going to get my work clearance. I've been here for like 10 years, whatever. This is what I've done every single time. And now that opportunity is being used to kidnap this person. Trump ain't so great when he starts to hurt your life, huh? I mean, like this guy is the classic example of like a dickhead business owner who also fell to the mercy of the overwhelming amount of like, there's so many criminal migrants out there. Immigration court system within the DOJ, so a part of the executive branch. Yes. You can get a work permit after accruing a certain amount of days of filing an asylum application, for example. Yeah. There are so many people like this who we could just like expeditiously process and give the proper permanent clearances for, right? But we don't do that. We just keep their immigration status in limbo. And that is by design. Same with the DACA recipients. Deferred action on childhood arrival. 90% approval for amnesty for this program. The program itself is crazy. It is crazy rigid. You can't even fly out of the country and shit. You know what I mean? If you're on DACA, it's ridiculous. You have to have an unvarnished record, no crimes whatsoever. You have to go to college. You have to have a job, like all this shit. It is so rigid. And the fact that we don't give these people proper amnesty is insane. Dreamers is who I'm talking about. Yes. DACA, deferred action on childhood arrival. Remember, these are people who came into the country alongside their parents when they were a child. Okay, when they were a minor. They had no say in this process. And this country is all they know. They don't know any other country. They grew up here. This is their country. It's functionally no different than birthright citizenship. Can you report both sides and show ICE removing criminals as well? I can't. You want to know why I can't? Because the criminals that ICE is removing are already in jail because they're criminals. They've already been processed through the criminal justice system. That's why I can't show you both sides of this equation, because the people that they are removing right now, the people that they're deporting right now, the ones that have a criminal record are for incredibly minor shit. They're not like rapist decapitators or some shit that ICE is like bravely taking out of this country. Birth certificate says otherwise, says My Lottery. My Lottery is a great name for you. Yeah, you did hit the lottery, I guess. That makes you feel like you're better than these people. Chew My Bullets one says, can you report both sides and show ICE removing criminals as well? ICE is not removing criminals. That's why so many people turn around and say, well, they're criminals because they entered the country illegally. You know? That's why. That's why people have to do the classic goalpost shift. Trump didn't say he was going to remove everyone that crossed the border, okay? He said he was going to go after these like rapist, drug dealer, vicious, violent types. They're deporting people that have been here for 20 years who have been checking in with ICE on a monthly basis since the agency even made these sorts of checks a requirement. They have the proper clearance and the authorization to work, okay? And they're removing people that have like a trespass from like 15 years ago. You think that's a rabid criminal that you have to get out of this country ASAP? Yeah, 65% of the detainments have no criminal record, and 93% had no violent convictions. And the 7% that I'm willing to bet, if we looked into it, the 7% that they have violent convictions are either like got in a bar fight, or the ones that actually have the heinous crimes on their record were already in prison and they're being removed from prison and being deported instead of going through the entire sentence. Understand that. Because in an effort to justify why they're doing this, like for example, one of the things that they did was park ICE into Rikers Island in New York City. Why did they do that? Because they want to get people who have actually done any crimes whatsoever that are migrants to be deported so they can beef up the numbers of criminals that they're apprehending and deporting. Okay? But even with all of that, because they have this ridiculous quota for, remember, a problem that doesn't exist, even with all of that, they have 7% violent convictions in the deportations. 7%. 7%. And even before these numbers came out, this is what my suspicion was. I told you that the majority of these people are not going to have any convictions whatsoever, and that the ones that do have some kind of conviction will be for like mail fraud or wire fraud or like trespassing or something minor, and that a very tiny number, a very, very tiny number will be people that actually have like kind of like a violent felony on their record. And those people are already in. Those people are already inside of these detention facilities to begin with. Because when Donald Trump was claiming that there are hundreds of thousands of people being murdered by undocumented migrants and like no one's doing anything, that meant that the police force under the Biden administration was capturing criminals. Right? Let's say an undocumented migrant did a heinous crime. They did a rape and like they did a murder, right? And then the police would capture this person, and then they would look at their background. They'd look at their record and go, oh my God, he's an undocumented migrant. We have to release him. Do you think that's what was going on? Because if you don't believe that, then the idea that the Biden administration was doing catch and release for like actual rapist criminals is insane. ICE bookings are primarily non-criminals and non-violent offenders. I want to know what kind of violent crimes that they've done as well. This understates the change in interior enforcement against non-criminals. This is mainly because ICE also booked some people into custody who were originally detained by Border Patrol. Hence, the pre-Trump numbers include many non-criminals who had never lived in the United States before. Since then, the Trump administration has put Border Patrol in charge of mass deportation in California and is making interior arrests all along the border, all along both the Mexican and Canadian borders. This means that the pre-Trump and post-Trump numbers are not directly comparable. We cannot say for certain how many peaceful individuals are being whisked off American streets by government agents. Yes, resisting arrest is considered a violent crime, by the way. Would you say that people that Obama admin deported millions as well? They don't think there's an issue with this because Obama did it too. I had an issue when Obama did it as well. But the difference between Barack Obama and like when Democrats are in charge, the major difference is that they consider immediate removal at the border a deportation. There's a difference between internal deportations and border apprehensions, okay? Both are still uniquely cruel, especially considering that these people are not here to do crimes, okay? Having said that, the Trump administration will greatly escalate interior removals, okay? Interior removals are conducted on not people who are doing crimes, but they're conducted on people who have been living here for decades at this point, who are literally playing ball with immigration customs enforcement. They do check-ins with ICE agencies. They have court dates that they're waiting on in front of an immigration judge. I spoke to a journalero in Huntington Park that had gotten detained in a raid at a Home Depot. He's a citizen. They take you to Santa Ana, verify your status, then they let you go. But now you are not at work outside of Home Depot. You're in Santa Ana. Yeah, they do dragnets, and if you're Hispanic, you will get apprehended. And they put you in a goddamn paddy wagon and ship your ass to a facility, and then they do some kind of check. And hopefully your paperwork is intact, because if they find anything when they run a background check, they'll still clap you. Is waving a gun around on Twitch considered a crime or breaking terms of service? This is not a real gun. Here you go. Andrea, the 411 U.S. citizen that was picked up physically by ICE and kidnapped. Democracy Now! Covered it. Yeah.
Situation is just totally, just blatantly not at all what they said it was. And the people that I know, the liberal people that I know really well, really close people, you know, that I know, me that's what they worried about, that ICE was just going to go after every.
One threatens murder, two wishes luck, one two bully me. No, I'm not the one who threatened to murder. Are you stupid? The other person who was literally banned shortly thereafter was the one who issued a threat against me. And I jokingly said, good luck. Oh, you didn't say it was me.
Everybody, arbitrarily, just grab them all, sort them out, and not really care what kind of damage they're doing to, whether it's a business locally or whether it's...
I work down the street from Santa Ana hot areas, and it's crazy out here. They're triangulating any Home Depot in this area. Currently, they're just walking around gas stations, car washes, picking up anyone who seems brown and may have an accent. As a Latina, it's not even safe for me to take a walk at work, and I'm a citizen. It's insane that we have to be in pairs and be scared for our own safety because of blatant racism. Yeah. What's also crazy is, as a citizen, you do not have to actually cooperate with ICE. Did you know that? Like, when ICE says, give me your ID, as an American citizen, they have no legal right to demand that from you. But at the same time, because it's a legal gray area, they can still detain you. Isn't that crazy? And the only reason why they detain you is because, like, ICE doesn't have jurisdiction over you. You're an American citizen, right? They don't have jurisdiction over you, but they will still detain you. And if you try to go out of your way and sue them, as people have, American citizens have sued ICE, it is a long and arduous process, and the penalties are so marginal by design that nobody even attempts to do this. There is no way to, like, put them under a shit ton of paperwork, even though any ICE detention against an American citizen is quite literally an illegal detainment, and you can sue them. Isn't that wild? But we have designed the system. We have designed the system in such a way that even if you were to sue ICE for falsely detaining you as an American citizen, that they have no right to do, and also they did it racistly, obviously, because, like, what's the purpose of this detainment? You're an American citizen. They're ICE agents. They don't know you're an American citizen, technically, right? So what leads them to believe that you are undocumented? I wonder, right? So when they're engaging in racist profiling and they detain an American citizen, you could still turn around and sue them after they free you. But because the paperwork is so long, so convoluted, and they're so marginal that it doesn't matter, and most people don't do it.
The families that they're destroying, actually, by doing this. I would argue, like I said, I would argue that that's not what they're doing. That's not what they're doing. Well, now I have to rethink a lot of things. Buyer's remorse, I don't know, a little bit. Yeah, it's going to reflect on what I did and who I voted for. And I'm going to wonder why they did what they did. And I'd like some kind of explanation, if they cared to give it at all.
And we also want to get to some breaking news. The Department of Homeland Security says a famous Mexican boxer has been arrested by U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement agents and will be deported. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. was arrested for overstaying a tourist visa that expired last February. Last week, Chavez was in the ring with YouTuber turned boxer Jake Paul. The DHS says the former middleweight champion will be sent back to Mexico, where he faces organized crime charges involving weapons and explosives. Officials say he's believed to be connected to the cartel.